Hi friends, this is Leela. Welcome to my channel Leela WebDev. In this video, we will learn some of the other HTML5 input types that are available. Let's try to see. In the previous video, we have already seen about some of the types like email, search, phone, and also the URL. So what are these usage of these all things also we have checked it. Now let's try to see some other more. Out of these things, the first one comes is the numeric field. Up to here, whatever the input types we have learned it, we are nowhere allowing something like numeric digits. For example, if I want to accept only numeric values means, or otherwise floating number values means, what I need to do, which is the suitable thing. Normally, we can take input type is equal text for that one, but I want to allow only the numeric values. So for this thing, for example, let's say that input type is equal to tell. So you can take this one, but it accepts because of this old variety formats of phone numbers, it will accept the numeric and also the alphabetical thing also. So in order to accept only the numeric data type, so we have another input type that is nothing but number. Let's try to take this one. So I am copying here the label and this one all. So here I will take something like number, and here I will take number, and here let's try to copy and paste all the things as number. So this is the number. Now if you try to see the output, now we will be able to see this output. So this control looks just like a text field, but it allows only the floating point numbers. And usually what it will try to do is it also provides something like buttons, up and down buttons here, so that you can increment the values and also decrement the values. So you can increase it and decrease the value of the control. Now wherever in the devices like dynamic keyboards, the numeric in Android devices and all those things, so when you click on this one, so numeric keypad will be displayed for this. So this is the main thing. Now here if you try to see here, other than the numeric values, it will accept only the other than numeric values. So it will accept only the numeric values. So it will not accept any alphabets or anything. So it will accept only numeric values, that too floating, that also floating point numbers also. Whole numbers and also the floating point numbers also it will accept. Now, not only this one, for this input type is equal number, it also contains a constraints. So that is nothing but you can also mention the minimum and maximum value for this one. So you can mention minimum and max attributes. For this one, you will be having min and max attributes. For example, let's say that you want to show the values between 10 and 20. So now this number text box will accept only the values between the 10 and 20. Now if I try to add 1 and if I try to click on submit, see the value must be greater than or equal to 10. So it will accept that the value should be greater than or equal to 10 it should be. So now if I try to see here, if I try to click on 1 and we are able to get it the value error, right? Now for example, let's say that I am having something like value 30. 11. Now what I will try to do, I will try to increment it. So if I try to increment it, the increment also will be the value also will be increased in such a way that whenever the maximum threshold or otherwise the maximum value is reached, automatically the increment will stop working. And also in the same scenario, if you decrement the values less than or equal to 10, so when it reaches the 10, so the decrement also stops. So that means the incrementation and decrementation of this one, the up and down arrows which are provided for this input type member will also in between the min and the max values. Not only this one, we also have, for example, let's say that, so when you are incrementing this value, it is incrementing by 1. So step 1. So it is something like one step it is incrementing. You can also, for this input type is equal number, you have also another attribute, that is step attribute. So what does this step attribute will do is, this step attribute, so we'll try to increment. So how many steps it need to increment? For example, let's say that I have given 2. Let's try to do it. So if I try to click on up arrow, so it will be incremented. First one is the 10, 12, 14, 16, 17. So all the times the value will be incremented by the value that you have given in the step. So this is the usage of this step. Now up to now we have seen about the whole numbers. Then what about this floating point numbers? For example, let's say that 10.1 I have given. It is greater than 10. Obviously it is greater than 10. Now if I try to click on this up arrow, what will happen? So automatically the value should be increment by step is equal to 2 is there, right? It should increment by 12.1 or something like this. If I did it, automatically the floating point value, the decimal value has been gone. So what the step will do is the step will always increment it to a whole number. So it will always increment it to a whole number. For example, if you want to retain the floating point number, for example, if you say that 10.1 is there, okay, I want to retain the floating point number means, so what I need to do is here you can keep any. So if you keep any, now now what it will try to do is, so it will try to retain the floating point number. So if I try to keep something like 10.1, if I try to update it, so it will be 11.1, 12.1, 13.1 like this. Okay, so this is how we will be incrementing this, incrementing the values. Not only this one, for example, let's say that I want to increment the values in such a way that 0.1 I want to increment the in the decimal part. So 0.1 I want to increment it. So how can I increment this one? So for this one also we can use something like 0.1. I can use this 0.1. Now for example, let's try to see if I try to increment it. So 10, 11, so we are having 10, 11 like this, right? So for example, let's try to save it. Okay, I am having in a such a way that, so 10, 10.1, 10.2, 10.3. So now the step increment is going in a such a way, so it is incrementing by the 0.1 times. So these are the different types of constraints that are used in the number field. So number, so we can use something like min and max are used for the incremental, so giving the minimum and maximum value, and the step we can give, so the incrementation 1, 2 or 3 we can give it. And also any, if you try to give it, means it will try to retain the floating point number, and also 0.1. So you can also give some whole floating point number so that the value will be increased with that floating point number. So this is all about this HTML5 input type number. Now let's try to see another type of slider, another type of input type, that is slider control. This slider control is also one of the important thing. So which will give you, what I can say is, which will accept this one also, the numeric value. So for example, let's say that we will be having p element, or otherwise let's try to remove it. So p element, and here I can give label, and this one is, let's say that slider. So if you want to give a slider something like this, and here I will be having input type is equal to, so let's try to make range, and here I can give name is equal to slider and id is equal to slider. Now if you try to see the output for this one, here you will be able to see a slider, so that the default value will be from 0 to 100, and here you will be having a slider option like this. By default, the HTML5 does not provide any output for this one. So what is the value of this one, and what are the values, what is the minimum and maximum values for this slider? So by default, HTML5 will not show you. So we need to use some JavaScript techniques and all those things to see the output. So I will try to show you that technique also. And another one, what I want to, now for example, if you try to see, now for this slider we can also give the min and max values for this one. How can we give is, so we say for the same number type, how we will be having, we also have min is equal to, so you can mention something like 100, and the max you can mention it as 500, and you should be very careful that the value, the selected value, it is highly recommended that the selected value should be in between this min and max value. So now here I can give something like value, the default selected should be 200. Now let's try to see the output. So if I try to see the output, see the slider, now the slider values is between 100 to 500, I think. So 100 to 500, and the selected value is 200. Okay. Now if I want to see the output, when I am sliding here, I want to see down the output means, so we can use some techniques, JavaScript techniques. I'll try to show you. So here I am adding something like output. Okay. The class is equal to, I will try to keep it as slider output, and here I can use for is equal to slider, so that when the user clicks on that output, it will go to that range. Here I will write script file, script tag, and in the script I will try to take constant slider is equal to document. So this is out of the concept of the HTML, but I am trying to show you how we can show the output using the JavaScript. So slider, so this is the ID we are getting. So constant, and I want to take the output also, is equal to document dot query selector of slider output, right? So we are having a class with slider output. I can take this one. That's it. Now first time, so output dot text content is equal to, I can take it as slider dot value. Now whenever the user changes the slider, so that means whenever the user changes the slider, so add easy event listener. So whenever we get the input, so I want to have in a such a way that output dot text content is equal to slider dot value. So the value of that slider, it should be added in the output text content. Now if you try to see the output immediately, so the default value is 200. Now when I am trying to increment it or decrement it, so we are able to see the slider value. So this is how we can show the slider value when the user is sliding the range. Now here what we have seen in this one slider, it takes the minimum and max value, and also we have seen the value, the selected value is value, and also we have the step attribute also. If you want, you can also use the step attribute 2, so that if you try to see, this one will be incremented by the 2. Okay, so 2 values will be incremented. For example, if I try to make it as 10, let's see what will happen. So 200, see, it is going incrementing by the value of 10. So we can also use this step attribute for this one. So this is all about the slider. So these many features we can use this slider. So that is the main thing you need to understand it. And the last one what I want to explain you before closing this session is the color slider. So we have also another HTML input element, that is color slider, color input type. I will try to show you what is this one. So I can use this color. So if a user wants to give the color, hexadecimal color code, so you can use this input type is equal to color, and name is equal to color, and ID is equal to color. I can use like this. So now if you try to use this one color, here a color palette will be displayed. So if you try to click on this one, if you try to click on this color palette, so a color palette will be opened in such a way that you can select whatever the color you want. And when we try to submit this one, automatically the hexadecimal code, the hexadecimal hash code, the hexadecimal code, whatever it may be, so it will try to send that hexadecimal code. Okay, this is all about the what I can say color input palette. So here you will be able to see %23 is the hash, and all zeros it is trying to set, as the black is having all zeros. So this is the color. So these are all about the color pickers and slider. So this is nothing but range, and what I can say is number. So we have seen what are the different types of attributes that are supported for the number, slider, and the color also. Color doesn't have any small attributes for this one. So if the browser doesn't support this color means it will automatically convert it to a text box. So there is no need to find. Fallback will be a text box, so that the user can add the hexadecimal code in that. So here it will try to send it now number, and also it will try to send it like this only. So these are the different types of HTML input types we have learned. So now we have learned about the email, search, tell operator, URL, number, range, and the color. So now in the next video, we'll try to see some of the HTML5 input types which supports the date time pickers. We'll try to see those date time pickers also, and then we can close this HTML5 input types. Hope you understood about these input types. If you have any doubts or any suggestions, please post the comments below to this video. And if you like this video, please do support me by subscribing to my channel. Thank you.